Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to another evening of America in Black and White. Today, we're going to be talking about finance and education, and we have a guest of ours, Mr. Michael Peeples, who is a part of BU and Prosper, is going to tell us a lot about education, what he does, and the state of education today. I'd like to bring Mr. Peeples in right now. Good
Yes,
evening.
hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
I'm doing excellent. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So, if you don't mind, tell our audience a little bit about what you do and about BU and Prosper.
Yes, I am an entrepreneur and a youth speaker. The name of my company is called BU and Prosper LLC, where we help high school and college students increase their confidence so they can prosper academically and professionally.
So, how exactly do you do that?
Yes, by giving us a speech called The Confidence to Prosper
Hmm.
by using three principles: being yourself, dedication, and persistence.
So, what was your inspiration and motivation as to starting your company when you started it?
Well, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was 8 years old. I didn't know that it was going to be through public speaking.
Hmm.
People have told me that I motivate them, that I inspire them. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do something with that. And then I took a public speaking course in college, fell in love with it. Then I wound up joining in an organization called Toastmasters International, and from there it just grew.
Well, congratulations to you on
Thank you.
that. And as a matter of fact, we have one of our members that's watching the show also says congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Now, what I want to highlight first before we get into the education disparities, I want to just talk about the intersectionality of education and finance in America. So, when I talk about that, what that means is we're having this issue where a lot of our kids actually from starting from behind and wanting to go to college to get this higher education and learning, because they're for the betterment of themselves, their families, their communities, whatever have you. Well, what's happening with a lot of them is that they're being stuck with student debt. The jobs that they're looking for, they're not getting those jobs. And once they're actually so indebted to the government or these borrowers or these people that's lending them the money, it's causing them an issue. So that impact on the Black community is that from a financial perspective, if they're starting behind at $100,000 in debt, then that's still keeping them at below poverty level. And so, with that being said, have you ever spoken to any of your students, whether high school or college or whatever level of grade there is, about that situation and what that would be like?
Personally, I have not spoke on that particular subject matter, but I would encourage them to still hold on to their dream and vision despite being in debt. You might not be able to do your grand vision at once, but you can still break it up into pieces and be able to start where you are.
Go ahead.
I think that it's so important to really hold on to that dream because when we get caught up in this financial debt with student loans, with bills and work in general, we can almost forget our dream that we once had.
Well, when we talk about some unequal access to quality education, okay, now what I want you and myself to discuss right now is the systemic issues that are affecting access to the quality education for Black students. From your perspective, what are some of the things that you have seen or you know of that actually causes this kind of issue?
I would say the grades play a big factor, and sometimes certain classes that were being taught from high school to college, uh, I found that a lot of times the students aren't necessarily ready, and they may need to take extra classes to be able to catch up.
Well, so like when I say the issues that are affecting the quality of education, now I can understand, you know, with some of the classes that are not being taught, but also I think what actually also plays a part in that is when the students, let's say I'm speaking strictly from the college level now because I can't speak from the high school level other than just what you mentioned.
Yes.
But when I'm talking about college, it is what schools are doing is they still force a lot of these students to take these extra courses that are not necessary. They actually have expanded the curriculum for more money because it's only affecting one particular segment, you know, of this population, and that's the black community.
Mm,
So, in just in doing that and trying to keep people indebted, what I'm finding is, you know, it's always good. I think if you know, if you went to HBCUs, you know, especially being black, because a lot of our students are feeling like they have to go to these other schools because they feel like they're more qualified. But to my understanding from what I've researched and found, is that the curriculum at the HBCUs are much more stringent. They're much better. They're much better prepared, but the students are just not going there. And for some strange reason, figuring and just thinking, and I guess from what's out in the environment, it's saying you have to go to a place like Harvard or some of these other schools that really aren't worth the paper that they're on. Why do you think that's happening?
I think with me being a huge sports fan, I think that when you see the basketball games on TV, you see the Dukes, you see the North Carolinas, powerhouse schools, and you don't see the representation of HBCUs on TV. I think that plays a big factor in it, having the media presence. And when you really don't know that there's another avenue out there for you, that's all you'll apply to.
Well, you know, and when you bring up sports now, that's very important because you know all of those schools, especially the ones you named, they're all the benefactor of a lot of these black kids that are all state wherever they go, and when they come to those schools they bring that revenue, so that's where the money is going. But I mean it's still like, you know, so what's happening now is with those scholarship athletes, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are with them being scholarship and not having to pay, maybe some of those schools make them pay a little bit of money and so forth, which they're really not paying because now they're allowed to pay the students, so they get a stipend.
Mhm.
So just with that being said, and all the millions of dollars that they make, and just now for like maybe 5 years ago from NIL deals, now that they're able to make money off their likeness, I mean, it's still putting a massive amount of debt on those that still want to go to college. So, would you recommend to some of your students that they go to HBCUs?
I believe yes, yes, yes. Personally, I have not went to a HBCU,
Mhm.
but like yourself, I've definitely done my homework, and it's definitely had its advantages.
Mhm.
I believe that when you see a reflection of yourself
Mhm.
out there in the classroom, whether it be a professor or a tutor at your help, wherever it may be, or it might be the dean or something,
Mhm.
that plays a big role too. And also, you're starting to create a network with yourself. Yeah,
Hmm.
that along with your classmates, that a student that you would sit next to in your freshman year, maybe 10 years down the line, they might be running the bank, for example, and that connection that you two went to the same school, and also having a, familiarity with each other, that gives you an advantage as
Hmm.
opposed to someone who doesn't know anybody or anything like that. And building those bridges is a big role, especially in the HBCU.
Now, one of our guests just wrote here in our private chat box that buying professors' books that are not refundable. So I guess that's just an add-on. So what do you think about that?
Yes, I remember being in school and buying books for classes and things of that sort. And I think that's just part of the curriculum and how it's set up.
Mhm.
That a lot of these books that you're buying, you necessarily won't get a return because it might be used by a professor or something. It's not something that you can get in the bookstore.
And I'm laughing because what was just put in the chat was just funny, but I understand.
Yes,
Our guest says that me and Salome are still beefing.
yes,
So
I understand the pain.
I'm understanding that, with those student loans, because that is definitely not nice.
Yes.
Um, but the thing that I want to I want to do, I want to just put out there as an example is that being black and you go into these schools that they're calling prestigious or a little bit on the upside that's supposed to help you when you graduate and so forth. Being black it causes it's like major issues. And when I say major issues, I'm talking about, a lot of times the professors don't like you. They can't say that. They won't say it to your face. But they don't like you just because you're black. And
Mm,
so when it comes to being like the top student in that class, they're gonna always mark you down a couple of points than somebody that's white because they always got their privilege and they're always gonna pull them over the top. Now, with that being said, if you go into a school that's called that's making you pay all this money for this education. True enough, education is good, but I think now people should be just a little bit taken back, and I think parents should be a little bit more forthcoming with their kids, and actually started to lead them to this path that was created when President Obama was in the office. That is, go and get that trade
mm,
because you get that trade, you can make just as much money as anybody else. And now, what a lot of folks are not understanding is Pennsylvania and Michigan are now the best two states to be in because those jobs that were considered high skill jobs that were paying all this amount of money, they've actually they've changed those descriptions to where the person that does not even have a 2 year degree can get this job and make more than $107,000 per year.
mm.
So, what do you think about that? Because I think that right there in itself is a whole big burden to alleviate for a lot of kids that are trying to go to college.
Yes, I believe it's a game changer, and it creates access for students who may not be able to afford the 4 year school, or they may not be interested in going that route, and they may want to pick up a trade. And I believe that with trades are becoming more popular now because when you said a trade, you almost viewed it in a certain light compared to the student that went to get their bachelor's.
Right. Well, that's doing that, but I think the overall thing that they're talking about what they're doing is they're basically just trying to make it a little bit more of an ad easement thing to where you're not stuck with so much debt.
Yes, yes, absolutely, yes, yes. And with the having use of technology, I think that plays a role in it too. So just a combination of everything that you stated. Either you're gonna make the adjustments or you're not going to.
Right. And so, when we talk about higher education and we talk about the racial wealth gap, um, do you think that because of what I'm looking at here, it's talking about student debt and higher education and how it contributes to the racial wealth gap? And again, I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is that those that are in this area of let's say what would be um, just debt in general. When you talk about higher education like grad school, because I'll be the first to tell you, just like me and probably a million other folks that went to grad school, that student loan, I mean, that's life changing. That is life changing. And I mean, I've, even though I still have an enormous and thousands of dollars that I have in student debt. Okay. And it's like, that's a hard thing to do. I mean, because you got to struggle to make all these dots connect in order to
Mhm.
make that payment. And they don't allow you to get rid of it. And so I think what this is saying to me is that it's probably not the best thing in the world for our students to be thinking about going to these schools or maybe even getting a higher education, higher degree, a graduate degree, because it's probably not worth doing as long as you still have your creativity, you've got your mind, you've got whatever you got for education, and you can make it move. I
Mhm.
mean, I know it's kind of sound like you don't want to like take that away from these younger kids, but does that sound like something that makes a lot of sense?
Well, I think that college is important. It has its value, and I think that if people really understood the risks that are involved in college, when I say risk, yes, there's a chance that high chance that you're not going to know what you want when you first get into college. But you understand that there's going to be a significant amount of debt that you'll be carrying, but you almost have to almost change your mindset and view it as an investment,
Mhm.
and knowing that, okay, I'm in debt today, but then tomorrow I know eventually it will work itself out. It A lot of it has to almost do my a lot of it has to do with mindset, and that plays a big role into it. And really having the conversation with your friends and family, and really decide before you make that decision of going to college, is that the route that you want to go, because every industry doesn't require you to have a college degree.
Well, that's true. That's true. But hold on one second. Also in this research that I have here, um, it says that white feminism has an impact on education. And in this, what it's talking about is feminism has hurt the repercussions on education. Now, what I think this is saying, from what I've read, is that, and you can kind of like see how the guard has changed because now women are getting all of the opportunities, especially from the black men. Black men is now still on the bottom. So the women have all the opportunities, and everything is catered to women and feminism. Now, of course, it's bad and it's hard to say about discriminating, which I don't believe in that. But I think when they talk about white feminism and education, I think that's speaking more so to the fact of that they have this ability to just get whatever they want when they want, especially when they pop up. wherever they are, and people are supposed to cater to them. You know, now I don't believe in that, and that won't happen with me. But I'm just saying, I think everybody deserves a fair opportunity. And so I think because these folks are, just given opportunity just because of the way they look, and we're not given opportunity because of the way we look. How does that work? How do you actually jive that and try to change that?
Hmm. That's tough right there. That's hmm. Honestly, I'm not really sure. To be honest, I'm not really sure. I don't have an answer for you for that one. I think that's so many other factors play in making that happen that
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, well, I think that's one, especially I think for when it comes down to it, I'm more than sure that you think about your kids that you're working with and so forth. But I think that's one of the things that either if you're sitting down with a parent or you're sitting down with that student, it's just some things I think that they should be thinking about because when you have favoritism over hard work, and that's what's continually happening, especially with our kids today. That's something that people should really, really be thinking about because I think that, from my experience to your experience, which is different because I'm much older than you are. So it's kind of like when I was about your age or younger, it was like, you can kind of like slide in there, if you knew how to work the system that way. But 9 times out of 10, a lot of us didn't know how to do that.
Mm.
So some got through and a lot didn't. But today, in this era and time right now, none of the kids are getting through. None of them. And so everywhere they go, there's obstacles. And it's those obstacles because of this white feminism that's caused that issue. But nobody wants to call that out because people are saying, oh, well, everybody's got an opportunity. We had a black president. I'm so crazy. I'm so sick of that. Like, Barack Obama was not the end all do all.
Mm,
There was
mm,
a lot of things he missed too. You know what I'm saying? So I
mm,
think people need to kind of like understand that. But of course, we don't get the benefit of the doubt. We're black men. So also, you see, one of our guests is just was asking the question, and let me put this to you. He says, "Do you think the college experience is better than the degree?"
mm. I think it depends on what you're going to study, and it depends on your major. You can, and the college experience is really up to the individual because there's people who will say they have a had an amazing time in college, and then there's people who will say, you know what, my college experience wasn't the best. I felt that I just created a lot of debt, and they didn't really maximize all the opportunities while in college, and I find that often talking to different people and things that so that former college former college graduates, they would tell me too that they didn't maximize all the opportunities they had, and it didn't give them even greater experience. And I think it's just very imperative to really maximize every opportunity you get in college.
Yeah. So my guest put two questions here in the chat, and I like the suggestion that he made. He says this is the Hunger Games higher education edition. But this question to you is, how was your college experience?
Wow, my it was great. It definitely had its challenges, but overall it was a great experience. I enjoyed it. I came across a lot of great people. I have had long lasting friendships. It was a really great experience for me.
Hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Okay. Um, so tell us a little bit about. How did you get to the name of your organization? What was the inspiration behind that?
Honestly, I was just jotting down some names, and the name came to me, and it had a good ring to it, and I just sat on it for a little while, and I said, you know what, that's the name, and then I thought about the long term vision I had for my company, and I knew the different areas I wanted to take it, and I felt that was the perfect name for it.
Okay. And so, who are the people that motivated you, that kept you going and helped you to get to the point to where you are right now?
Yes, I've been blessed to have amazing family and friends in my corner that really push me and motivate me and just really tell me never to give up. And and I know that a lot of people don't experience that, so I know how blessed I am. So yes, it's a I am I am surrounded with amazing family and friends.
Well, you know something. I think anytime you decide, it doesn't matter who you are. When a person ventures out into entrepreneurship, for one, it shows that you have confidence in yourself. You believe in you. You're going after the dream that you set forth, and you believe in making an impact. So, as you have started, be you and prosper. What has been the impact of the work that you've done so far?
The impact has been going out there, motivating the students to really remind them of their excellence that they have in themselves that they might not have realized, and then also to spark that excellence in them again in the students who have forgotten about the greatness that they hold, and knowing I'm able to pour into the students is a priceless feeling. It's truly a priceless feeling.
Oh wow. So I mean, do you have any of your family that work in your organization, or how does that work when you get the job that you get? How did that come to be?
Yes, yes, yes. It's just me right now, and I reach out to the proper channels, whether it be principals and things of that sort. We I reach out to them.
Okay. And so I have another question here. It says, were you nervous when you started?
Absolutely, absolutely, because entrepreneurship is tough. It's I know it's become the trendy, popular thing to put in your bio and things of that sort. Everybody is living their life on Instagram. Nobody is struggling, but honestly, that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are having challenges, and that comes with business, especially a startup business.
Hmm.
And but there's so many tremendous people out there, so many different apps out there that you could learn learn from and are able to overcome those those challenges. And I just know for me that yes, I was I definitely was nervous, but I was confident too that I could do it. I knew I was built for it. I knew the trials that I came from, and I knew if I could overcome those, business wouldn't be so tough.
Let's see. There's two questions here in the chat. One of them is, does your business get in the way of your personal life romantically? And I'm assuming that means that because it's just you doing all this work, does it get in the way?
No, I'm able to compartmentalize. I'm able to when when I'm not doing my business, I'm able to just separate the two. So I'm able to do that, so it doesn't get in my way.
Oh wow, that's great. And this other question is, do you see the same support from your social media peers after you started your business?
I would say yes. I would say yes. Yes, everybody is supportive in their own way. Whether it could be a simple DM, just saying, "Man, you're doing a great job." It could be someone posting my product or services. So yes.
Okay. I'm going to speak a little bit on these financial disparities here with education and the role of financial education. What I want to talk about here for a brief second is I want to discuss the importance of financial education in bridging gaps. Now, we all know what that means. That means that if there was an equal playing field where everybody was making the right amount of money, then college would be very affordable and people could actually live their lives a whole lot easier. But instead of that, what's actually happening and transpiring right before our eyes is college educations are actually making life horrible. And how it's making life horrible is everything that's actually happening, where you got to pay for these semester hours. So now classes have gone from maybe 2 3 semester hours to now 5 semester hours, and what they charge you per hour is what sometimes like $400 $500 per hour. So one course can cost you $3,000, which is nonsensical. So if they're bleeding you dry, and you got these folks that are getting these free scholarships, because of, my mama know your daddy,
Mhm.
okay? They're getting these free scholarships, and they are just like, they really don't care because they start to hate it after a while because they hate being controlled. But our kids wanting to have that opportunity are willing to go off on this real crazy tangent and spend all this money for these college educations. But when it's all said and done, when it's time to pay, as I guess say Fannie Mae, you can't pay Fannie Mae. And so what happens when the Department of Education decides that they want to garnish wages, or they telling you we want all our money now? That's crazy. But that's what they do to you.
Well, I know that there's options available before they start garnishing wages and things of that sort. There's yes, I would definitely encourage students to look into those options before they start garnishing checks.
Yeah. Then I think it gets to that point. It's probably a little late. Um, the historical context of this is that from the time, and I know some people are sick of this, but it's just the truth, and the impact, and the things that's happening now is from the impact of from slavery up to now, where it may have been worse in one region than the other, but it's still slavery. Okay. And when you do that, from that point where everybody's still used, we're starting like um, a whole mile behind everybody else.
Mhm.
Okay, because there are people that come over here to this country that actually get those free educations, and they're not Americans. But we have Americans here that don't get that opportunity. But yet and still, politicians can get up, they can stand on TV, and they can tell that blatant lie that they're trying to do something to help you when they're not trying to help you at all. What they're actually trying to do is, especially when you're black, is they put those little things in the that people need to start reading. They put these things in the bill that actually puts this stop or put these obstacles in the way of anybody that's not white. Because anytime they speak of the American people, they do not mean black people. And I think a lot of people need to get that in the mind. So that means we have to start thinking critically as to how we're going to avoid these things, but still come around to get the dreams or reach the goals that we set out. Because education is not going to be that way. because every year, just think about in 2024, tuition is going up an additional 5%. So that means more money you got to borrow. Is that really worth doing? I mean, really, I want to. Do you think that's worth doing?
I would say yes, and then I just think it really depends on the particular person. If their dreams are to become the doctor, the lawyer, the engineer, yes, there's no way around that. You have to go to school. You have to endure those 4 years and then the additional other years that are required. I think that once again you really have to sit down with yourself, really sit down with family and friends, and decide whether or not if this is a route that you want to take. Because this is an investment. This is a long term investment. It's not something that's going to happen. You're not going to see the benefits right now. This is a long term game.
Okay. Um, you see, we have this comment here is the companies that can afford to pay you are not black owned, which is on purpose. So I think this statement is saying that um, if these are white owned companies, these white owned companies are not going to do their due diligence, and they're just going to constantly just take advantage of the whole entire situation to where they know that you're not going to be able, they're not going to help you, but they tell you this lie for why they want you there. Is your camera working now, Michael?
No.
Okay. You said I'm breaking up?
You're good now, yes.
Okay. But yeah. So I mean that's one thing, but then another impact is economic opportunities, and that is you've went out and you've got this master's degree, and you went to, let's just say you went to NYU, you went to University of Chicago, you got this wonderful degree from those two prestigious universities, but when you're looking for work and opportunities, you don't have any, but you're stuck in debt. That does not work either. Michael, until we can fix this technical difficulty. Yeah, so when I say these economic opportunities, really, this is why a lot of our black-owned businesses need to be working to bring in all of this top-notch young black talent that's actually made these opportunities of being on. Well, I hope Michael comes back. I hope that people understand that this is why black companies should be hiring this black young talent, because I think the only way these kids are going to get these afforded opportunities is to go through a black-owned business that's actually willing to put his or her or their money, put their mouth to where it's supposed to be. Because if they don't, then what's actually happening is these kids are being stuck in debt. They're the education that they just paid for are going to have to pay for is still there. So you still owe that $75,000, $100,000 for for that degree, especially if it's a graduate degree. And depending upon the school you went to, because you say you wanted to go to this prestigious university. So going to the prestigious university where all the other kids are, and people are expecting them to do everything that they're supposed to do, and they can't do it, then where are you going to fall in the end? You know? And see, I think all of us need to be thinking about, I didn't want to be an entrepreneur just to say I am. And so even though I am, that still don't mean that, my life is easy, because it's not. I've got to work 5 times harder just to grow the network of people watching this wonderful podcast that's putting out the truth. And we're gonna put out the truth until, don't care if I had 1 penny, I will find a way to get some internet to let people know what's happening here in America in black and white. Because these are some things that are so deeply seated within this country when it comes to black people, that every step that we take, don't care where we go, how we do it, and you could be doing it right, they're always going to find a way to say, you're not supposed to be here. Michael is back with us, and let's see. Let's see here. Let's see this question. Okay. So we got one comment here. It says facts. The jobs that want our guest here, our caller here, to have a degree, hire people without degrees. But he says he think they hired him for show, which is most likely true. If they're larger companies, what people don't understand is that for hiring black folk or hiring veterans, they get a kickback from the federal government. So if they're especially incorporated, INC, when they bring in minorities, or they bring in veterans and so forth, is actually in the tax code that they will be reimbursed. They will get a kickback from that. But only larger companies are allowed. They're the ones that's primarily doing that because they can get away with that, because they can afford the salaries. Smaller companies like mine, or people that are smaller than me, and I know I'm very, very small, can't afford to do that. Because if you did, then your business is down in 3 months, 4 months, because you ain't got enough money. So, I just think that, there's a lot of things that can be done. And so when it comes to that part, we've got to find some better things to do. So let's say when it comes to empowering the black community, Michael, are you still here? Okay. Michael, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Look, we're gonna talk about this last point, and I want to talk about highlighting, talk about some initiatives and strategies for empowering black communities in education and finance. Tell me, what are your suggestions, and how do you see that?
I see, really, when it comes to finances, really creating hubs for us to learn the importance of money. That's cool. Joining workshops, taking classes, and maybe even just having a group of individuals come together and just talk about finance, because finance is not a very popular subject in our community. We don't like to talk about it at the dinner table, and we should really shift our mindset and be comfortable with talking about money and the importance of education, the importance of whether it get a 4-year degree or not. Or you may say, you know what, I want to go to going to trade school and figure out what's the best option for yourself, but really coming together as a community, making sure that we bridge the gap, as you were saying earlier, of finances and in education, and learning the importance of money and understanding that money is a tool, because somebody can give you $100,000 today and you could blow it in the next week if you don't have the right tools under you to make sure you make the best financial the best financial choices.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because everything you said is very very important, because it doesn't happen at a lot of our tables. But so are you? I want to. Are you saying that maybe if parents were a little bit more, um, let's say, more on top of events, the environment, and what's happening to their kids, that they would, if they were a little bit better, then maybe things could change a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
I would say that make certain uncomfortable conversations uh, just just a little more comfortable, in terms of it may be you showing your child what how to open up a checking account, how to open up a savings account, how telling that this money here goes to pay this bill here, and just giving them the understanding of how money works,
Mm-hmm.
and just go from there, because it's absolutely pivotal for our growth. And you may some people may not know how to open up a bank account, and they could be in college because nobody has taught them prior. And it's I think that sometimes we do ourselves a disservice by trying to hide certain information from from each other, that if we came together and had certain conversations when it comes to finance and and education, we may not be so far behind.
Right. Now, this right here, this comment is really funny. As, about the parents putting lights in the kids' name. Uh,
And,
I mean,
and that right there is a point that I'm staying right there. The importance of credits, the importance of
exactly.
having credit, having like I said, having great credit, having
Right.
not being able to feel comfortable when somebody says, "Hey, we are gonna run your credit," and now you're wondering, you're hoping that you're passing, but if you have a strong credit score, you're not worried about that.
Exactly. You're
And it's
exactly right,
about
because I know that's
paying
how.
your bills on time, paying your bills on time,
Mhm.
and not avoiding those debtors that you owe, because a lot of times they want to work with you if you just happen to pick up the phone, call them, have a conversation with them. People will work with you.
Mhm. Well, that's one thing we got going on. We got another. We got some more technical difficulties. Mark was going to talk about those very things, but I guess once we can get his camera fixed, we'll bring him back to the show to talk about that, because that's very very important as well. Because if you don't have if your credit is being ruined, and has been ruined ever since you was 10 years old, then that in itself, that's adding to the depth in which you have to come back to start from. So that's pretty bad. That's pretty rough too. But yeah, but for me, I think when it says that, when I think of empowering the Black communities, I'm thinking of having all of our communities established with the resources that we need, that's going to make it that much better. Have the grocery stores, not those that come outside your community and come into your community and don't put anything in the community. Okay, we have to learn how to start boycotting and blocking stuff like that from coming in our communities. But we need our own grocery stores. We need our own farmers markets. Um, anything that's of resource or drugstores. Even if you want to do the little shopping center malls, you know, it don't have to be all these high end stores because these high end stores, they're always set out at least 30 to 40 miles outside the black community.
Mm-hmm.
Because the stereotype is everybody that's black, they're all coming in to steal. And if we have to put a store over there, then that means that we're going to have to up the rate because we got to account for security and theft. And
Mm.
so that means that something you go 30 miles to get that you could spend $25 for, when you come to the black community, it's going to cost you $40 to $50. And that's ridiculous.
And one
So,
point that you're making too that I like to add in terms of us having the stores in our communities, which I completely agree. But it goes to a piece of not just education in terms of a formal sense, but being able to educate the importance of voting, understanding who your council people are who are making those choices to determine whether or not that land that you want to build that store on that you can or you can. And I think us just having a better education of those importance of voting and not just voting for a president, but just voting for your local people is critical, especially for our communities.
well, you see, this is well, there's another question. Is this: do you think there should be more national media covering state and city elections? I think that would be the best thing to do. What about you?
I think so. I think that it will be helpful. Yes, I think it will be helpful. Yes.
Because what I'm thinking is that as you say what you said, which is really good, and I think it's a valid point. But I just feel like in the black communities, when you see, and excuse my French, but it's just true, when you have Asian people that own service stations and restaurants throughout the black community and they don't live there, the people that work there do not live in that community. Where is that money going? Outside that community. So if it's poor, it's going to get poor because the prices are like this much, which is from the national the average store that may have, let's say, if it's a restaurant where you can go and get some little fast food that may cost you like maybe $12 now. When you have those neighborhood restaurants, they're charging you $20 and $25, and they'll charge you that because they say they have to worry about theft and they have to worry about violence and all this other stuff. So all that's taken into account with these prices, and people still go and support that junk when they should be like, no, that should be all out boycott.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the black neighborhoods, you've got Asian folk, you got Indian folk, you got what they call them Arabs, which is still a part of Africa. You got the Arab folk, you got everything, even got white folk. They're all in the black community sucking up them dollars, and people are actually going to these stores paying their money instead of going to the store that actually they should be supporting, which is that one black store that sits around those 35 other nationalities, and they're the ones that support it, and the black store is the one that has to close.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, and I think that a lot of us forget that our communities were once ran by us. It
Right.
it wasn't always like this. I think that we lack a check and balance system in our community. We were very welcoming, and we let anybody in our community, and sometimes that can hurt us in the long run.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that's another show because we definitely gonna talk about that because, with everybody giving out black folk cards because they're giving them out to everybody else. Okay, okay, you validated so you can come into the community. they they done sold off. Black culture has been sold off so until it's like we can't even claim all the good food that has originated that we have cooked and done in this country. Everybody has a recipe, a story about something about some food, but black people. And who has been cooking all this time? And so it's like even when I look at these little cooking shows that's making all this money off folks that actually sitting there watching that mess. You see one or two black folk on there for like maybe 2 or 3 episodes and they've been chopped.
Mm.
And so now the best cooks are these white folks, or is these Italian folks, or is these Indian folk, or is these whomever. But it's very seldom you see somebody black win.
Mm.
So I don't waste my time watching shows like that because that's foolishness. That's like fool's gold. And why would you sit there and watch that when you know what's going to happen? It's the same with all this reality TV. It's the same thing. Oh, it's the content. I want to go on this show right here because I want to win. Yeah, you're going on there, but you're not going to win. If you do, then it's that day. I'm sorry, but they feel like, oh, it's Black Person Week, so we don't let black people win.
But sometimes it's not always about winning on those shows. Sometimes all you need is the exposure. So if I say, hey, I have my business here, and I'm on a show, although I may not have run the show, but I look at all the eyeballs that are now on my business once I promote it.
Michael, I mean, that makes some sense. I mean, because that could be a strategy. That definitely could be a strategy. And so, I mean, that's something to think about. That is definitely something to think about. But I don't know. I just don't find comfort in that. I really don't. I don't find comfort in that. But, I will say this. I think if I had to watch a reality show and I like it, and this going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but it would be The Amazing Race.
Mm.
And the reason why is because that's strictly on you and your merits.
Mm.
You ain't getting no points. Ain't nobody voting for shit. You are actually doing what you got to do. So you got to be able to read maps. You got to be athletic, and you got to be ready to be. You got to be just physically strong because you're gonna do some of everything, and that's what I like about that.
Mm-hmm. And it really shows your mental toughness.
Exactly. So, I will say this. I want to thank you, for letting us into your world and you spending time with us today. It was really enlightening, and we will definitely be checking on Be You and Prosper, especially in the future, because we definitely like to have you back.
Great.
And I just think that everything we do is all about for what this show is about. We highlight what our people do. We bring out the things that our people do because it's about us, and this show is about helping everybody to grow. And so it's nothing but facts, and we give it to you straight, no chaser. It's all about the truth. It ain't about no play. We ain't trying to just make something be what it's not supposed to be. It's just a real thing about this is here and now. And so right now we have a state of emergency for the Black community. And I know that this has been tried before, but I'm telling you, I think that we're going to make that connection. We're going to bring more people in, and more people are going to follow and view what this show is about. And we're going to make some changes. It may be slow, but we're going to make that change. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. I appreciate, you, Michael, as our guest, and all the people that watched the show tonight. And we will see you all tomorrow for another show, which is very, very important, where I will be talking about health and wellness and the effects that we have right now for medical issues in the Black community that are so in dire need. So please join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I want to thank you all again and have a great evening.